How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about My Name is Bruce from 2006. This is directed by Bruce Campbell and stars Bruce Campbell, and Bruce Campbell in this movie actually plays a fictional version of himself. So, yeah, we're gonna get a little meta here, and this is also made by Dark Horse Indie. I've covered a few Dark Horse comics on this channel, but they actually put out a indie movie here. I don't believe it was related to their comics in any way, so hey, an original movie from them, that's pretty cool. Anyway, let's just jump right into this. In this movie, the fictional version of Bruce Campbell is kind of a washed-up B-movie star. He's currently filming Cave Alien 2, the sequel to one of his least favorite movies, and he goes home and this kid knocks on his door. This kid's a huge Bruce Campbell fan, and he has a story for him. You see, the kid and his friend and these two girls were going to this cemetery to party, and towards the back of the cemetery there's this mine shaft door with a strange golden amulet in it. He takes it out and unleashes the spirit of Quan Di, a Chinese warrior god, and that kills everyone but himself, and he just barely makes it out. You see, Quan Di was there to protect the souls of these Chinese immigrants who hundreds of years ago they were working in a mine and it collapsed and they couldn't even get the bodies out. So when the amulet was removed, the spirit that had been protecting them is unleashed to seek vengeance on this town that killed them and left them in the mine. Now, Bruce Campbell doesn't believe any of this story, and he turns the kid away, so the kid actually has to kidnap him, and when he gets out of the car in Gold Lick, Oregon, in the middle of nowhere, a small town, he's at first really angry, but then he mistakenly thinks that this is some sort of birthday present because his agent had been teasing him something really special for his birthday, and he didn't know what it was going to be, and he thinks, okay, maybe this is like a kind of like one of those murder mystery dinners or something. Plus he's really attracted to the kid's mom, so that helps him stay. But eventually when they go and actually hunt the thing, he finds that Quan Di is in fact a real spirit and not just a Hollywood story. So he has to make up his mind, is he gonna help or is he gonna go back to his old Hollywood life? Now, this story isn't anything too terribly special, and we of course have seen stuff like this before. Think Galaxy Quest or Three Amigos, and you can pretty much predict all the story beat by beat, and it does drag a little bit in the middle. But that being said, this movie is not about giving you a big, unique story. It's an excuse for Bruce Campbell to do what he does and give a little something back to the fans. This movie is a pure comedy. I do want to say that there are a little bit of horror elements. Quan Di does kill a few people, but it's nothing too particularly gory, so if you're expecting something like Evil Dead 2, it's not exactly what you're going to get. The tone's actually set really early on in the beginning, where in order to give a backstory to Quan Di, they show these two country guys playing their guitars and singing a song about him right off the bat, so you know this is going to be more of a wacky movie. So yeah, don't expect too much gore. This is definitely more on the comedy side. But one thing I really do like is how Bruce Campbell chooses to portray himself. This is not a vanity project. He portrays himself in a very bad light, and he is quick to poke fun at himself. In this movie, Bruce Campbell's career has gone really downhill. He is an alcoholic, he's divorced, and he lives in an Airstream, an idea that would later be recycled in the Ash vs. Evil Dead TV show. But yeah, he's really down on his luck, and he's filming all these B-movies. And there are little things in there, like when he doesn't show up to work because he gets kidnapped, they replace him with a mannequin and just have the aliens start fighting it. And there's one scene like right in the beginning, so you know that he's playing like a bad version of himself, is a fan comes up to him in a wheelchair and starts being like really annoying. So he kicks the guy and he rolls down a big hill, and you're like, okay, this is really setting up what kind of character they're going to go for. But yeah, he's playing a fictional version of himself that is kind of like a parody of a Hollywood actor. But yeah, he does a whole bunch of lines, and I'm not gonna butcher them here, but they're things that, only Bruce Campbell could really read those lines in the way he does. And if you want to go on the internet and find like a line compilation from this movie, that should be pretty fun, although I'd definitely just recommend watching the whole thing. But anyway, there are several things in here. I do want to say, if you're not a big Bruce Campbell fan, you're not going to get too terribly much out of this. I mean, I'd be curious to see what you get if you don't really know who he is. But there are several references to, his career and himself, and this really is made for the fans. So if you haven't seen too much of his work, go watch Evil Dead, Bubba Hotep, some Burn Notice. But yeah, I'd recommend watching a few of his other things first to kind of get it, because this really was made for the fans, and there are several in-jokes. The ex-wife character is named Cheryl, who is played by the actress that played Cheryl in the original Evil Dead. Ted Raimi shows up to play several characters, Sam Raimi's brother. The kid in the graveyard at the beginning is trying to pick up girls by using Bruce Campbell's lines, but of course they all fail for him. And it's really funny and stuff like that, and there's a ton of Easter eggs when you see the kids' rooms, and some of them is actually actual stuff Bruce Campbell has saved himself. But yeah, really fun things. I also wonder, this is a Chinese spirit, and the lady, the kid's mom, Bruce Campbell has some line where he refers to her as having green eyes, and then she's like, "What are you talking about? I don't have green eyes." And I'm wondering, I'm like, is that a reference to Big Trouble in Little China? For those of you who don't know, Kurt Russell and Bruce Campbell are actually good friends, and Kurt Russell kind of borrowed some things from the Ash character from Evil Dead 2, so I'm wondering if that's a little throwaway line in reference to that. But overall, really good, really funny. But yeah, if you're not a Bruce Campbell fan, I don't know how much you'd get out of this, which, I'd be curious if someone's not a Bruce Campbell fan and saw it, what they would think. But one thing I do want to mention before we go is on this DVD, at least, I'm not sure how many other releases have it, there's a feature, a full-length, I don't know, I think it's like 45 minutes, documentary, Heart of Dorkness, where they talk about the movie's production. And it's really funny, like almost as good as the movie itself. But you get to see that this was like an incredibly low-budget movie, and you get to see all the stuff that they had to do to still make this thing and, get around that. And they resorted to things like building a backlot on Bruce Campbell's actual property, because, hey, then people won't disturb you. And so yeah, and essentially what's Bruce Campbell's backyard, he has the set for Gold Lick built out there, and they did things like one of his neighbors had a bunch of old wood and all the old cars he ever had, and they wound up borrowing wood to build the set from his neighbor and borrowing the cars from him as well. And it's just, fun little indie movie things like the catering tent gets overwhelmed by bees and stuff. But yeah, to see how low of a budget they, did this movie for, and to be fair, when you're watching it, you can tell it's pretty low budget, but to see how little the budget is and how much they had to do, you really go, okay, wow, they delivered quite a good product for having to go through all that. And one thing I will say about this documentary is you get to see Bruce Campbell being himself, not acting, and you see that when he's by himself without a script, he still is a really funny guy. And they actually show a bunch of the actors and the crew And you see that these are a lot of people he's worked with before. They're a lot of his friends, so you know he must be a good guy in real life if all your friends show up to help you with a movie. But yeah, I definitely recommend watching the Heart of Dorkness behind the scenes documentary if you get the DVD and it's there. It's really, really fun. You know, it's one of those things, turned on, didn't know if I was going to watch the whole thing, but like, hey, what's this? And you sit there for like 30, 45 minutes going, oh, wow. Oh, look at that. And yeah, it's really, really fun. Overall, this is definitely a movie made for the fans, so if you're a Bruce Campbell fan, I'd recommend checking it out. You'll get something from this. But like I said, low budget and not super revolutionary, but for what it is, it's really, really fun. You know, it's not going to be the next big thing that redefines everything, and you know, it does get a little slow at points, but overall, it's really fun, and it's an excuse for Bruce Campbell to go in and do a lot more of his, you know, Bruce Campbell gags, and it really is made for the fans. So if that sounds like something you'd like, I'd recommend checking it out. It is a pretty goofy movie. But that being said, I do about 95% horror on this channel. I'll keep coming back with more movies, so if that sounds like something you want, I'd recommend sticking around. To everyone who's watched this far, thank you for watching, and to everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. Down here somewhere I'll have a relevant playlist. And anyway, I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Have a good day.